Wherefore, Part 46. Ursula plonks her fisted hands on her hips and says, "This is so fucked up." Nerys considers the swathe of open grassland on the top of Rodborough. The grass is all faded to straw tones and punctuated by mud. It looks like it always does in November, sad and washed out. There is more to it, though. Nerys can't see anything, but she feels it. A transgression hangs in the air, a wrongness. Ursula paces about, lighter on her feet for not being a bear, but hunched in a way that implies her ursine qualities. Nerys watches her, and at first does not know what to make of what she can see. Something is bothering her girlfriend, but what? "You always take things in your stride," Ursula says. "You're always so calm." "It's a survival skill," Nerys replies. For much of her life, the energy involved in getting excited or upset has been more than she could afford. The habit of underreacting remains. But right now, Nerys is failing to react because she has no idea what Ursula is so bothered about. Ursula turns to look at her. "What?" Nerys says. Ursula waves her hands as though it should be obvious. It isn't. "Dead? Here?" "Not here. Not decomposing. Gross anyway. So big. So fucking wrong. So right in front of you." Nerys is perplexed. "It's just what happens in winter," she says, looking at the dead grass, brow furrowed. "You what?" says Ursula. "I come up here all the time, and let me tell you, dead giants are not a normal winter feature of this landscape." Dead giants. Nerys is more confused than ever. "You can't see the dead giant?" Ursula asks. Nerys admits that she cannot, and then the two of them stare uneasily at each other for a while. It is an uncomfortable thing finding that your reality and the reality inhabited by your lover have parted ways. An ordinary couple might be broken by such an experience, but between Ursula's ability to wear a bear skin and Nerys being a beaver, only when she is asleep, they are used to multiple realities that do not all match up neatly. Another person might cling aggressively to their version of reality. But Nerys draws a deep breath and asks Ursula for more details. Ursula walks around the dead giant so Nerys can see where it is. The giant is a good 14 feet in length, and Nerys finds when she approaches it she has a deep revulsion that prevents her from entering the space it occupies. Nerys accepts Ursula's understanding of the situation. Clearly there is something weird here, and if it can be understood as a giant, then why not? "The thing is," Ursula says, coming to stand next to her, "the giant itself was pretty fucked in the first place. I've seen them around. Well, seen may be too strong a word. They're like the idea of giants in the dreams of someone who isn't really that invested in the notion. Does that make sense?" Nerys considers this. Does it make sense? She is unsure. After a pause, Ursula continues. "A giant should be substantial, right? That's the whole essence of giantness. The physicality. A giant isn't a vague idea you have. It isn't a bit of whimsy you can choose not to commit to." "If you say so," Nerys says. "I can't honestly say I've given it much thought." Ursula pulls one of her "whatever you like" faces, as though any sensible person would have devoted a good few hours to considering the nature of giants. After a few seconds, her face softens and she smiles. Nerys knows what has just happened. Ursula, grumpy bear that she is, annoys people. She's not used to being quietly accepted. Having spent a lifetime with the exasperating Caroline, Nerys is really good at not rising to the bait or taking offence. With her mother, it was always a survival skill. With Ursula, it feels like a gift, and every time she declines to be put off by Ursula's challenging nature, she sees something soften. It makes her glad and a bit heartbroken all at once, because, really, Ursula isn't that difficult. What should a giant be like? Neris asks, closing her eyes to listen. What, aside from was substantial? Ursula pauses before trying to answer her own question. Wilder. Less like a big human, more like a being in its own right. It should look like it belongs in its environment, like it has a relationship with the land, not like it's just been dropped in randomly. Neris feels her hands moving of their own accord, as though she is a puppet and someone else holds her strings. The universe has intentions and moves her in ways that at first she does not understand. The shape and rhythm of it is familiar. Holy shit, says Ursula, and Neris knows something serious is happening. She keeps her eyes shut, confident Ursula will keep her safe. She lets her hands find their own way in the air, and after a while she recognises the shape of it. This is what her beaver self does, working with mud on wood to change the shape of the pond and build up the dam. Her human body remembers what her hands do when she is a beaver. Neris makes, and she can feel the resistance against her fingers, the sense of something to be dismantled and reformed. She works the air as she would work mud and does not open her eyes or question the process. These recent months have taught her how and when to simply surrender to magic. She holds nothing back. Her work is affirmed by the soft, awe-laden stream of Ursula swearing. Her arms are shaking when at last her hands fall to her sides. Fuck, Ursula murmurs. Her hands fall on Neris's shoulders, and Neris leans back into her, glad to be held. She stays in this moment, not yet ready to open her eyes and know if she can see what she has done. Fuck biscuits, Ursula breathes the words out softly. Fuck me, it's moving. The hands on her shoulders tighten and Neris opens her eyes. She can see this giant. It is much as Ursula demanded a giant should be, large and solid, a thing of hilltop and wind-heightened trees, of vast sky and lark song. It belongs here. It moves with purpose away from them. I can see it, Neris says, her voice catching and scraping over each word. How the... Ursula says. I mean... What? You just... How? I mean, you? You? I have no idea, Neris replies. It needed to happen, and my hands know how to unmake and remake. It was like when you're in the sea and a wave just picks you up and moves you, and either you go with it or it drowns you. Well done for not drowning, Ursula says, and then she swears extravagantly and starts crying. Neris turns to hold her powerful butch bear girlfriend, who is brave enough to let this sort of thing break her sometimes. It is one of those moments when Neris wishes she was strong enough to break as well. But it is okay. She is stronger than she used to be. And anyway, she just turned an apparently disappointing dead giant into a much better live one. And she thinks that probably counts for something.